When it comes to retirement, many Gen Xers are behind, and we're going to struggle without Social Security and steady work. And if you're in your 50s, the margin for error is almost gone. We are the first generation to have to rely almost entirely on what we can save. We can't afford the mistakes that maybe our parents might have made. This is about taking control of the next 10 to 15 years while we still can. And they threw us the DIY retirement football decades ago. And while a lot of us fumbled, the game is far from over. So let's talk today about the 5 biggest mistakes that Gen X cannot afford to make. And on each of them, what we can do to score a few points. Mistake number 1 is believing that a Hail Mary can fix lost time. Waiting until age 55 or 60 to make some risky investment choices like volatile stocks or crypto to make up for lost time. Now that move usually comes from panic, not planning. And the reality is that the best returns come from time, not risk. A major loss right now for Gen X can't be recovered before retirement age. So we don't want to be gamblers. Here are the things that you can do that do work in our 50s. One is maxing out your contributions while we still can. Being able to max out our Roth IRA or our HSA, those windows are actually very short. They don't last forever. For HSAs, you have to stop as soon as you get on Medicare. For Roths, you have to have earned income in order to participate in contributing in one. We have this ability from age 50 or 55 in the case of an HSA, and this short window, we have to take advantage of it however we can. And of course also 401ks, you can try to maximize your contributions there as well. Now this one is simple, but you need to automate your deposits, automate those contributions. Cut out those expenses that are draining your accounts every month, especially things such as high interest debt, or just miscellaneous fees, huge depreciation on high cost or luxury goods. And if you can, work overtime right now. Get a second job now in your 50s. Find another way to bring in some extra income. And not to keep up with the Joneses and not to buy more from Amazon. No, it's to fund, max out your retirement accounts. And don't just put that extra money in your checking or savings where it's vulnerable. Put it in your 401k or your IRA. Now we can't buy back time, but there are some powerful tools out there that are available to us. But we have to go out of our way to make sure we're using them. Now mistake number 2 is assuming you can work until age 70 and run the entire 100 yards. Now we all want to believe that we can make it to the end zone, but too many of us get sidelined before then. More than half of retirees leave the workforce earlier than they plan to, often because of layoffs or health issues or family caregiving. For men, the average age of retirement is 64, and for women, it's 62. So even planning to work until age 65 might be a long shot. What I'm trying to say is don't just let the, I'll work forever be your only plan. Have a plan B. Look at your budget. Stress test it as if you had to quit working at age 62. Could you make it? Do you know what your Social Security check will pay you if you claim at 62 or 65? You need to know those numbers. It's one of the most important data points for your future. Now, if you believe your current job, the one that you have in your 50s, is not the one that's going to enable you to work until age 70, then consider switching jobs now, voluntarily, if you can. You'll be in a much better position now and to work longer, if that is your desire. It would be easier and better to do that now than to lose your job in your 60s or come to the point where you physically or mentally can't do that job any longer, to try and find something different then. Also, if you're in this for the long haul, you want to work until 70, being proactive with your health has never been more important. Mistake number 3 is draining your investments to bridge Social Security and trying to run out the clock. You know, in football, running out the clock, that works when you're ahead. But in retirement planning, it's the fastest way to lose ground. And you've probably heard the advice, to delay claiming Social Security until age 70 to get that bigger check. But here's what can happen with that plan. You can drain your savings, your IRAs, your 401ks in those years between 62 and 70. And that's a problem. Because for every year that you delay Social Security, you're losing a year of compounding and growth in your personal investments. And that compounding could be worth more than the higher check later. Now, everybody's math is different. Everybody's situation is different. I did another video about Social Security and age 70. I'll be sure to link that at the end of this video if you haven't seen it already, so I won't go into all of that here. There are many, many right ages to claim Social Security, and possibly talking to a financial advisor would be the smart thing to do to determine what that best age for you is. But it could be that taking Social Security at maybe, say, age 65 to preserve that growth in your nest egg, maybe that could be the smarter move. And also remember, if the markets drop, if we have a bear market during those years, between 62 and 70, we need to withdraw as little as possible from our accounts during that time. We need to give them time to recover. But if you're in a position to where you have to live off of your money, you may not be able to adjust. You have to protect your assets like your future depends on it. Because in our case, it does. Okay, mistake number 4 is underestimating the cost of health care and getting blindsided. Many of us, we plan for food and housing costs, but a lot of us forget to plan for the rising health costs, probably because it almost feels like a lost cause. And just like that quarterback who doesn't see the tackle coming, most of us, we get sacked by just trying to say healthy and alive. A healthy couple retiring today may need over $300,000 just for Medicare and out-of-pocket costs. Those numbers are according to Fidelity. They put them out every year. And long-term care, that's an entirely separate financial wild card. And add to this that currently 40 million Americans live alone. Now that's a huge strain on caregiving, emotionally and financially as we age. So max out a health savings account now if you're eligible for one. Maybe you want to look into a small long-term care policy, but you need to do that now while you're in your 50s, while the premiums could be maybe affordable. I don't think long-term care policies are a solution, but they are out there. And for us too, I think that maybe mentally we need to accept that as we age, that medical debt could just be a part of many of our lives. And we have to just come to, be at peace with setting up affordable payment plans, paying what you can, and living your life the best way you can. Aging in America is expensive. And outside of saving more for your future, taking advantage of an HSA, maxing that out every year, and then not stressing about the rest. Planning for it does give us some power, but pretending it won't happen doesn't. Mistake number 5 is outsourcing financial knowledge, or as I would call it, calling a timeout. Now this one hits home, especially for women. Gone are the days when retirement was just an afterthought. When you turn 65, like it was for our parents. Gone are the days when women were culturally and purposely left out of financial matters. Now we all know the risk involved with leaving all your financial business to your spouse in case of a divorce or death. The aftermath can lead to financial confusion at the very least, inability to access accounts, vulnerability. You may not even know some of the accounts that might be out there. Financial literacy, it's not optional anymore. Because like I said, gone are those days. Financial literacy today is a survival skill. And you should know where every account is, where it's invested, how to access those accounts. It's all about team effort and teamwork. Every one of these mistakes here, they're common, but they're also fixable. In a world as unpredictable as it is today, we can't plan or save enough, it seems. But we can get focused and give it our best shot. Don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. We still got time on the clock, Gen X. So let's make the next quarter count. And I've got the perfect next video for you. How the system is failing Gen X and why it's time for a personal rebellion. I've linked it right here. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great week. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.